Hello, people. Welcome to the show. Welcome to our time here together. My name is Stuart Davis, a flawed man of God, your host tonight, as always. And let's get this introduction out of the way. Like I said, my name is Stuart Davis, flawed man of God, a humble parishioner at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of different topics, issues, and current events, and give you my perspective on them, one that I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 42 years, non-denominational Protestant. Don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. I'm just in the Word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Sometimes I'll get it right, other times I'll get it wrong. But no matter what, if you're listening to this show, if you're hearing my voice, you can count on getting my honest takes on whatever it is that we're discussing. So, if you're new to Christianity, if you're somebody who is ready to take the next step, you think that there's something missing in your life, and you know now that it's Jesus, or at least that's your strong suspicion. You're right. That's the spoiler alert is you're right. But if you feel that way, but for some reason you're held back because of doubt, maybe you're fearful, anxious about it, concerned about how it's going to change your life, and you feel like it's the right decision, but there's a lot of outside factors and maybe some internal ones working against you. I mean, we live in a world where you are told that making this decision is stupid. It's hateful. It's judgmental, arrogant, all sorts of things, all negative, right? Because the world doesn't want you to see things in a perspective that is not of the world. And perhaps you've got the internal conflict of being worried about putting your trust into a belief that is administered on earth by people, and that corruption exists within the church just like it exists everywhere else that we seem to inhabit. And putting your faith, your trust out there makes you vulnerable, and you're worried that someone will take advantage of that. Look, if you're nervous, or maybe if you're concerned, maybe you're not good enough, let me get you started with some encouragement. I'm rooting for you, praying for you, and I'm hoping that you continue with your walk towards salvation. I want it to be meaningful because this is the most important decision you can make. Because you got to save yourself first. Well, let me reword that. I guess they save yourself, but you have to get salvation for yourself first before you can start trying to spread it to other people. Now, mind you, let me correct that. Correct what I had said earlier. God is the one who gives us salvation. We don't give it to ourselves. But I think you guys understand what I mean. But not only am I rooting for you, the church is rooting for you. All of Christendom should be rooting for you. The folks in this chat I know are rooting for you. We're all rooting and praying for you. And I don't know who you are, and I've likely never met you. But regardless of that, you're important. You're important because each saved soul is another friend, brother or sister in Christ that we get to chill with up in heaven. And every saved soul is a victory. So it's not just me. It's not just Christendom. It's the heavenly host up there, hoping that you'll make the right decision. That's a lot of encouragement at your back. That's a lot of folks on your side. So if you ever feel lonely, and trust me, there's times where you might feel lonely. I've been there. Other people have been there. And maybe I don't know your journey, path, and maybe I can't relate to it. But that doesn't mean we don't find ourselves in similar spots. You're not alone. Even when there's no one around you, you've got God. So, if that's what you needed and you got to go along your way, that's fine. But I would ask for you to stick around and hang out with us. Maybe get some influence on what it's like to hang out with Christians and just talk about scripture and faith. If you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions, welcome as well. You'll find we run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. It's about the small group. We are a small group. Usually there's about a half dozen of us in the chat at a time. But you're more than welcome to just listen along. But I'd really like you to participate. Because while I put this show out here and I host it and I say when we're going to have it or not, when we're talking, you guys have just a fair amount of control over where we're going. You guys are part of the show, or at least have the ability to be part of the show. So do it. Be part of the show. Again, I promise if you put something in that comment box, I'll read it and respond to it. So tell me what you agree with or disagree with. Where do you think I'm right? Where do you think I'm wrong? What unique perspective, insight, or experience do you have that perhaps we haven't discussed yet? Or maybe you want to add on to something somebody else said. Share your opinion. Ask questions. I can't promise you that I'm going to have the answer for it, but we can at least talk about the question, your question, point you in the right direction, or maybe one of these fine folks in the chat will have some information to throw your way. And with that said, tonight is great. How are we doing? It is a cold, rainy day or evening here with snow on the ground. We got snow most of the day. And then it turned to rain recently in the last hour and a half. And so we've got precipitation and precipitation. Schools are closed. Schools will be closed tomorrow. So the kids are enjoying that, I guess. But that's how things are here. Hopefully they're well with you. If you're getting weather, I hope you stay safe. You got to go out. Again, what I tell you guys, every weekend, I just want you guys to be safe so you can keep hanging out with me and walking through life. Tonight we're going to get into Ecclesiastes 3. This is a big one. This is a one that is pretty well known. Though a lot of people don't always ascribe it to the Bible or understand that it's in Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes 3 is about a time for everything. And yes, at some point, there's a time to kill. Time to kill. Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. Samuel Jackson will not be appearing tonight to give his famous response there. But this is such a great chapter in the Bible, because it really talks about how, we go through things in life. And we've talked about it through Ecclesiastes, where he's talking about vanity, vanity, all's vanity, all the things that we do eventually go away. The materialistic things we build, the finances we build, all the things that happen in our lives that are attached to the world eventually will wither away and die, rust and deteriorate, crumble, erode. But the good news is, with God, hey, there is meaning in things that we do. Where there is meaning, there is meaning in some of the things we do. There is a way to do things that honor him. And while that stuff may still crumble, we remain. And we're not anchored to this earth. And so tonight, it's going to be more of just kind of a review of how life is. And somebody had a great meme. I need to share it in the Discord. Let me see it. Hang on. Let me pull it in the Discord, and then I'll pull it up for everybody to see. Where is it? Where is it? Where's the memes box? There it is. All right. Where is it? There's Yahoo, channel. Where's Discord not letting me? Oh, wait, hold on. There it is. There it is. So we haven't gotten to Song of Solomon, Song of Solomon, or Song of Songs, as some people call it. What we've got here is Solomon writing Proverbs, Solomon writing Ecclesiastes, Solomon writing Song of Songs. I wish they'd used Willem Dafoe again, but that look from Shaq's pretty good. But Solomon writing Ecclesiastes, that picture's pretty apt. Man looks like he's struggling. But and that's what we kind of feel like. It just feels like I said, I've said this before, the line in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where they have the depiction of God, and he goes, "Oh, just like those miserable Psalms. They're so depressing." I didn't get that from Psalms. I mean, there are some Psalms that are a little more melancholy, but for the most part, there's a great mix of different emotions in there. But Ecclesiastes, on the other hand, it gets a little rough. So hang on one second, Thad and Ernath. I'll talk to y'all in just a moment. All right, so Thad the man, howdy. What's going on, sir? Nerneath, these first 8 verses imply that we should be able to do so, or I'm thinking, be able to do all these things. There's some implication there, because of the implication. Thad said they're very lyrical. They could almost be used in a song. Yeah, it's like they have, like, you could use it in a song. I don't know. Um, maybe, wait, you guys tried to trick me into singing, but I remember this song. Who sang it? It's like to everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, and then they go into this. I can't remember who sang it or what the name of the song was, but I remember the lyrics and the melody very well. So let's get into what the first 8 verses actually do imply and get into it. A time for Ecclesiastes 3 Amplified translation. A time for everything. There is a season, a time appointed for everything, and a time for every delight and event or purpose under heaven. A time for every person under heaven. What's going on, Josh? We got fantasy baseball coming up. All right, hold on. I got to get into the reading. There is a season, a time appointed for everything, and a time for every delight and event or purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up as lost. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear apart and a time to sew together. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What profit is there for the worker from that in which he labors? I have seen the task which God has given to the sons of men with which to occupy themselves. All right, I'm going to let you guys mull that over with real quick. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that, guys. Your host managed to spill a cup of soda on the desk. Eek. And it got into just about everything. So, a little frustrated about that. I hate spilling things. All right. The Birds, that's right. Turn, turn, turn. I thought that was the name. The Birds did sing that song. Like I said, I was raised on the oldies. My parents raised me on the music they listened to. So, I remember hearing that a lot. It's deep. It's deep. It's kind of wistful in a way. Reading it, and it's a reminder to us that maybe the things that we want to do is not the time. It's not the time for us to do them, and things maybe we don't want to do that we need to. All right. So, there's a season, time appointed for everything, and a time for every delight and purpose under heaven. Very good introduction. Really kind of lays the foundation for what we're about to talk about. We have already discussed in Ecclesiastes. He mentioned there is nothing new under the sun, which means what happens has already happened before at some point. Rain's making some weird noise on the roof. So that's where we stand on that. All right, a time to be born and a time to die. Pretty much runs the whole scope tonight of sorry folks. A little distracted. Time to be born and a time to die. Pretty straightforward. We live and we die. We have a set amount of time on this earth that we are given. What I try to remind my kids when we're praying is to be thankful. We are not guaranteed this time, or we're not guaranteed every single day. We don't know when our time is coming. It may be 100 years from now. Well, not for me. It may be tomorrow. You don't know. And obviously the worry of every parent is that they don't want to outlive their kids. It happens. There are tragedies. You see it happen from time to time. And it's sad, right? You want your kids to live a full and blessed life. But that's not in the cards for all of us. But the one thing that we do get, those of us who are blessed enough to be born, it's the time to be born and a time to die. And what we do with that time as we get older is important. A time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted. And time to invest. Time to take away, right? Time to pick up. This one has a little bit more meaning for harvesters. There's a lot more there's a lot more agriculture. This is a lot more agriculturally dependent society than we appreciate within ourselves when we're talking about Israel at the time. There's a time to grow and a time to harvest. And you can take that many different levels. You can take it on a literal level where it's, time to plant seeds. Time to uproot what it's planted. It's time to pick those tomatoes, dig up potatoes, get them collard greens, pumpkins, whatever it is that you're growing. It's time to harvest them up and eat them. Or you can take it on a more metaphoric level of there's a time to invest in things. We look at it from a Christian perspective, a time to plant those seeds of faith in people, and a time to try to pick them up. And you realize that it's time for them to when it's time for them and they're ready to take that next step, invite them to church, have a deeper theological discussion with them, etc. A time to kill and a time to heal. There are times where we might be presented with a situation where we have to defend ourselves or defend our family, defend our country. That's especially true as we go. So we know, time of Israel, there's a lot of jealous neighbors around Israel, and there is still crime. They have rules and they have rules and punishments. Now, that doesn't mean that wickedness does not still happen within that society. People still rob. People still murder. So you have to defend yourself. Or, in some cases with Israel, there's a kind of time to kill somebody because that's the punishment for the crime that they committed. And then there are other times where you're not taking lives, you're working on saving lives. Healing the afflicted, the wounded, and those who have less physical scars. Nernaeth says, as a general matter, if you know one, you should know the other. The time to kill part is versus the time to heal. That's the one that I think might be the hardest to know both. Folks who are, doctors, nurses, EMTs, firefighters, police officers, even police officers, because many police officers aren't involved in officer shootings. But a lot of times they spend their entire lives surrounded by trying to heal and help other people, but are never presented with a situation where they might have to kill somebody. Is it hard to get a BLS cert? What is a BLS cert? Training to make holes isn't hard to get either. Yeah, training is one thing. Doing it is a different. How many people? Oh, basic life support. Oh, okay. First aid, CPR, all that stuff. Yeah. But even then, how many people have been presented with a time where they need to save somebody's life? Of course, there's more to healing than that. And I guess sometimes a time to kill you could wrap up that, and there's a time where you need to hurt somebody. You might find yourself in a fist fight and trying to kill that person. You can also get a Q course manuals for medical. Well, yeah, you can take a online course. You can train to be an EMT. That stuff's out there. You can go to the shooting range. Well, depending on the state you live in, it seems. But there's balance here. Time for war and a time for peace. A time to tear down and a time to build up. And I think that that's kind of the more I should have stopped and backed up before I got into this too much. But when they pair them up, if you see how they pair them up in verses, you see that one is a little bit more overt and another one is a little bit more metaphorical. Like when we see a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, where you are planted and then you are uprooted. Time to kill, time to heal, time to tear down, and a time to build up. Like I said, time to help folks get better. Sometimes there's a time to hurt. Time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. This one might be very important to King David and his first wife. Laughing and dancing. One of them enjoyed that. The other one, not so much, it seems. But yeah, I mean, we've all, and this is one I think we can relate to the most in our experience, that we have times where we are joyful, amused, best of times. And then there are sad times, times that cause great distress and sadness, things that depress us. And keep us down. And that's not a saying thing. I don't think that there is scripture that tell you that you can't, that you're not, that it's not. I don't think that there is scripture that I've ever read that said that it's a sin to be sad. God understands our lamenting in some cases. Not, I mean, some things are you shouldn't be sad about. But one thing that we would mourn is somebody walking away from their faith. The unfortunate thing is that it happens. And the understanding that they aren't coming back. You may be sad about the things that you do that are wrong. And you might be stuck in an addiction to something that you're doing, and you just can't seem to get out of it. And it makes you sad. It makes you sad because you feel guilty, because you know you're letting God down. You know that He's sad about it too. And when we get to the Gospels, you'll see there are times when Jesus wept. There is a time to weep. We go through different seasons in our life where things are good and things are bad. We have moments in our life. Some of them make us sad. Some of us make us happy. And I think that's the thing that we can draw the most memories about. I love to laugh. It's one of my favorite things to do. I do it often. Um, I find humor in so many things, and I appreciate the humor of so many people. I like seeing other people laugh and having a good time. Um, Time to weep. Don't see me do it hardly at all ever, but there have been times, and I know that there will be other times. And I know that there will be times that I will mourn, and I'm not really one for dancing. I don't enjoy dancing. I'm not very good at it. I'm embarrassed by my my lack of ability to do so. Um, but hey, had a father daughter dance uh, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It's my obligation to go dance with my daughter and appreciate those times. I didn't weep at that dance. I didn't mourn at that dance, but I did laugh. I did have some laughs. Learn Russian folk dancing. I ain't got the coordination for it, fam. Well, I probably have the coordination for it. What it is I'll probably look ridiculous doing it, and not ridiculous in the way that it normally looks, ridiculous in the way that it just looks like some gangly dude uh flailing around. I'm sure at some point I'll have to take dance lessons. I have 2 daughters. Eventually they're going to get married and there'll be a wedding and they'll be expected to dance. Ugh. But yes. um and of course there's a time to mourn. Um we lose uh people close to us, something that happens in life. Um it's not something that any of us enjoy. Now sometimes it comes as a relief because they have been struggling with an illness for a long time and you just want them to see, or they have lived a long and full life and they're ready, but it's still sad to see them go. You told you've if you guys were remember back when one of the elders at our church, or the church I went to at the time, Wayne Kirby, when he died, it was sad. It was untimely. The man was um, a great foundational personality and spiritual leader of our church. And it left a hole behind. But you know where he went. You know where that he's celebrating with where he's at now, and he's been that way since in the years that have followed. So you can't be so sad that in those cases, but you still mourn that he's not there. Still mourn for the family that's picking up the pieces. They didn't expect this. Wife who loved him, sons who adored him, a church congregation that um, gained so much from him. You can be happy, relieved, thankful, and feel blessed, but at the same time, sad and mournful. You can do those things at the same time. And maybe when it's your time, other people will feel that way about you. A time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Now with Solomon, I'm starting to wonder about this embracing. You know, might be a euphemism. Might be an innuendo there. But there's a time for it. And what Solomon seemed to not understand a lot, there's a time to refrain from it. Time to throw away stones. Time to gather stones. I know there's other people who understand. I don't. I feel like there's a meaning behind that. And I can't remember. I can't remember what it is, but Samovar dance was Samovar dance. Oh dear, I'm gonna regret looking this up. That's Samovar Dance Company. Is that belly dancing? Or is that just the name of it? Where's this the Samovar dance? Ah, Russian Samovar dancing. Okay, here we go. That doesn't look like that's not that's just regular dancing. Hold on. YouTube's let me down here. Hold on, Russian. Do I have to be that specific? Okay. There we go. All right. It's not working for me, Thad. Nernaeth comes in with some clarification. You might need to use something you thought was worthless at one time, and then sometimes you need to realize that it is worthless and you need to throw it away. Looks like people dancing with tea on their heads, like a cup of tea, or like tea's been poured on their heads. I just put it in the Discord for for stones. No, I think that's good. Like I said, the context behind it is sometimes you collect, not to be a hoarder, but to collect some things. There's a time to get rid of things. No, I'm just in comments. Nernaeth. I don't even know what top chat is. Remember, this is a very boomerish stream. No idea. Everything that I'm doing and interacting with you guys is coming through Streamlab or StreamYard. I'm not in YouTube's. I'm not in the YouTube's interface. Because, like Josh is here saying hi, I'm also streaming to Facebook. Oh, I like that. Toss away stones when you plow a field. Obviously, you don't want them, but you gather the same stones to make a wall or sheep coat. Yeah, there's a use for it. You might not need it at the time, but you gather it together. And there's another time where you go, I don't think I'm ever going to need this stuff. Time to get rid of it. Of course, that one comes in a little bit later. It's the very next one. A time to search and a time to give up is lost. A time to keep and a time to throw away. Time to search and time to give up is lost. Part of that came up this weekend. Me and my son are still trying to figure out the ins and outs of this 3D resin printer that he got for Christmas, and we were ready for the next. We were ready for the next attempt, and he did not know where the USB with the files on were. And look, they're somewhere in this house. He had it, and he put it in his pocket, and then it wasn't. And then 2 hours later, it wasn't there anymore, and we don't know where it went to. We looked all over the house. Couch cushions, chair cushions, underneath, all sorts of stuff. Did not know. And he was getting frustrated. And it was like, look, it's going to have to turn up at some point. And unless you remember where it is, it's time to eat dinner. It's time to eat dinner, settle down, and enjoy the weekend aside from that. So, again, time to search, and then a time to give up is lost. You look for it. Hey, if you find it, great. Yay. You look and you can't find it, and you go, well, it's not there. It's not there. And I've told him, I was like, it's going to end up showing up someplace dumb weeks or months from now. And we're going to see it. We're going to go, can't believe it was here all this time. And it was. It would have been. Time to keep and a time to throw away. And again, I think that ties back a little bit to the throw away stones and gather stones together. There's time to keep things, time to throw them away. And again, you can take this literally, or you should take this both literally and spiritually. Time to tear apart, and a time to sew together. Time to keep silent, and time to speak. That second one's very difficult for me because I like to just speak, and I like to listen. I like to listen and speak. And part of growing up for me, and I know it'll be the challenge for my son and probably both my daughters, is understanding there's a time to keep silent. It's a time to shut up and not talk. And that's just a part of growing up and maturing. And it's something that I think that we constantly work on. Some people are good at it. It isn't me. But again, it's still something I need to get better at. I run my mouth. Theranos. Yes. They go to sleep. All right. But a time to tear apart and a time to sew together. Sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you need to understand when it's time to break off, get away from each other. Sometimes there's a time, or sometimes it is time to come together, mend fences. Time to bury the hatchet. Forgive, forget, work together. Understanding we're trying to achieve the same goals, or that we need to love one another. Serranos, he said, yes, they do it randomly and for no reason. Sometimes sometimes it's following the word fine or I'm fine. It's fine. Usually those before silence is a bad thing. It is a bad thing. And it won't be quiet for long. A time to love and a time to hate. Yeah, there's things in life that we are going to be presented with that we need to love. We need to love each other. We need to time to hate. There's things in life that we should hate. We should hate sin. We should hate sinful acts. We should hate the um we should hate the support for sin, the affirmation of sin, the tolerance of sin. And there are times where we need to understand that we need to love. We need to love our fellow man. We need to love the blessings that God has given us. Love our wives, love our children, love our parents, siblings, in-laws, and our enemies. And, we talk about it on the show. Don't get love confused with, oh, I agree with everything you do. It's not that. Loving somebody is wanting what's best for them and caring about that, genuinely caring about that, and not looking at it as a time for you to show off that you're better than them or doing something better than them. No, it's time for, like, look, you need to knock this off. This is bad for you. This will poison you. This will destroy you. And I don't want that. God doesn't want that. We want to see you free of this. And not just because it's God's will, but this is your soul we're talking about. And so what is love? And if it's like, if you know somebody is doing something destructive and you're just okay with that, or if you try to warn them and plead with them, stop. People who have had family members, friends, loved ones, whatever, who've struggled with addiction, you know that feeling, and you know that hurt, and you know that loss, and you know that hate, because you hate what they're doing, you hate what it does to them, and you hate it so much because you love them. Correction, that we know because we've listened to it and we read it in Psalms and Proverbs. Correction, rebuke, that's done out of love. That should be done out of love. Genuine concern for your brother or sister. A time for war and a time for peace. Time for war and a time for peace. There's a time for fighting. There's time to put down your arms and live in peace and harmony. Josh says this passage is like a to-do list or a tidy up for your life spiritually and figuratively. And in these moments, we need God the most. Yeah. And I think, Josh, because I don't know, I see you in the chat now. I don't know if you were listening to the other parts of Ecclesiastes that we've been in. So much of the Ecclesiastes is that all this is for nothing without God. And this to-do list is to understand, like you said, tidy up things that you might need to tidy up how you're living your life, because you might not be doing the things you're supposed to be doing. You might be remiss. You might be needing to gather stones, or you might be needing to throwing said stones away. Cast away stones. Be gone. Taylor Swift. Leave Taylor Swift out of it. Not left out of enough things. Ugh. No. Again, you want to correct. And, the unfortunate thing is those celebrities of all stripes suffer from a lot of degeneracy or pride or self-love. And a lot of them forget God, or when they remember God, they forget what he's told us. Some folks would rather remember God in a way that just affirms what they want to be true. What profit is there for the worker from that in which he labors? I have seen the task which God has given to the sons of men with which to occupy themselves. It's a good question, Solomon. You got an answer? You just kind of leave it sitting out there, asking rhetorically, what profit is there for the worker from that in which he labors? Why are you laboring, and what are you laboring for? Would be my question. I've seen the task which God has given to the sons of men with which to occupy themselves. Is that labor focused on that, or focused on your own personal endeavors? Right, continuing. God set eternity in the heart of man. He has made everything beautiful and appropriate in its time. He has also planted eternity, a sense of divine purpose in the human heart, a mysterious longing which nothing under the sun can satisfy except God. Yet man cannot find out, comprehend, or grasp what God has done, his overall plan from the beginning to the end. Whew. Yeah, we feel that. It's kind of one of the things I talk about when you like there's something missing from their life. There's something in the old meta of my introductions. There's a voice in the back of your head wondering if there's more to your existence than just this life. Planet eternity, a mysterious longing with which nothing under the sun can satisfy except God. But we can't, and we know that, and then we learned this from Job. Man cannot find out, comprehend, or grasp what God has done in his plan from the beginning or the end. We just don't know. Even the angels in heaven do not know the appointed time in which Christ will return. God handles his business. We might not understand it. And Nernaeth clarifying what was in 9 and 10 kind of applies here. Just do your part seems to be the idea. Do what you're supposed to do. Be where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if you need clarification on what that is, I will direct you to the Pentateuch. I know that there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and to do good as long as they live, and also that every man should eat and drink and see and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know whatever God does, it endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor can anything be taken from it. For God does it so that men will fear and worship him with awe-filled reverence, knowing that he is God. That which has already been and that which will be has already been. For God seeks what is passed by so that history repeats itself. Nothing new under the sun. But yes, when you do your part, when you do what you're supposed to do, and you commit to that labor, you should be able to enjoy it because it was a task given to you by God. And completing it or getting a part of it done or whatever should bring you some sense of joy and satisfaction. It is the gift of God. Eat, drink, see, and enjoy the good of all his labor. Yeah, I can say that when a great example, Thanksgiving, gathering together for Thanksgiving. We got the family over at my house and we're all together. And I see the kids and my brother and his wife and their kids and my parents and my in-laws. And they're all together in some capacity, talking and everything. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the life I was given, been given, what I've done with it. Flawed though it is, flawed though my way has been and executed, I've still worked towards it. And I sit back and enjoy my part in it. And it's more than I deserve by by an amount I can't even imagine. I am extremely blessed. It is a gift from God. And I know whatever God does, it endures forever. Nothing can be added to it. You can't add to or take away what God does. He is the the creator of all things. And we see it. So we would fear and worship him. Respect. This is that respect and love and whatnot. That which has already been and that which will be has already been. For God seeks what is past, so that history repeats itself. We've covered that part. And to me, I always kind of think of that as the, you know, God and existing outside of time and space. Like this, the time as we know it is so linear, but God is a being that seemingly transcends that. That's why I think the whole predestination, free will debate is really kind of moot from a practical standpoint because you're living your life, and from a theoretical standpoint because it ends up being kind of semantic and ends up being kind of really some weird metaphysical discussion. But God sits and he sees the timeline. Was, is, and will be. And maybe that's a little bit out of pocket for things, but that's kind of how I see it, how I envision it. All right, continuing. Moreover, I have seen under the sun that in the place of justice there is wickedness, and in the place of righteousness there is wickedness. I said to myself, God will judge both the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time appointed for every matter and for every deed. I said to myself regarding the sons of men, God is surely testing them in order for them to see that by themselves, without God, they are only animals. For the earthly fate of the sons of men and the fate of animals is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. Indeed, they all have the same breath, and there is no preeminence or advantage for man in and of itself over an animal. For all is vanity. Vanity, vanity. All go to the same place. All came from the dust and will return to the dust. Who knows if the spirit of man ascends upward and the spirit of the animal descends downward to the earth? So I have seen that there is nothing better than that a man should be happy in his own works and activities, for that his portion, share, for who will bring him back to see what will happen after he is gone? Nath, what's that take on time and God? But the orthodoxy. I wish Yex was here. He could probably give us a firsthand telling of it. Go ahead and extrapolate while I go into this. Where he goes, look, I've seen this. I've seen evil and corruption. Even in places where there should be righteousness, goodness, and justice. And having seen that, and I'm sure he saw, I mean, Solomon, you can tell, just being from as a king and all the stuff that goes on with that. I mean, remember how Solomon handled things when he became king, when David died. How he handled business, kind of like the end of Godfather. So he's probably seen his share of wickedness and corruption in places in institutions and beliefs that should be pure and wholesome. And so he looks back, he goes, God's going to figure this out. Solomon doing, kind of the appropriate thing. The wise thing here is this corruption, because we are corrupt people. We are going to corrupt what is good. God will be able to figure out who's true and who is not. Surely God is testing them in order to see that by themselves without God, they are only animals. Look, you are. Here comes the all is vanity part. The earthly fate. What's tied us here? Our fate is no different from animals. God created us. What lives in us, who we are, that's apart from this world, that's different. But we still have a physical body. We breathe the air. We eat food. We do that just like the animals do. And we die just like the animals die. All go to the same place. All came from the dust and all return to the dust. Who knows if the spirit of man ascends upward and the spirit of the animal descends downward to the earth? I have seen that there is nothing better than that a man should be happy in his own works and activities, for that his portion or share, for who will bring him back to see what will happen after he is gone. That's a good question. And I wonder if Solomon is asking this rhetorically or if he's genuinely curious. Because he is a very wise man. That doesn't mean he had all the wisdom, all the knowledge. He just had the wisdom and knowledge he needed, and more than anybody else. Not more than God. From what I have learned, they hold that all time exists simultaneously for God. So his actions are constant and ongoing and never stopped. Ergo, Christ is still atoning for our sin and rising in victory and everything else. That is a very interesting way of looking at it. I guess if you're outside time and space, it's kind of all. Again, it gets really metaphysical. And it gets kind of to the point where it's like it's beyond my capacity of really understanding. And that's kind of where when we get into these more esoteric theological discussions, I feel like how important is this that we focus on this? It's so much of this sometimes strikes me as man trying to understand God. And I think that there is a noble purpose behind that desire and mission. But I think that it lacks the understanding that we can't. But I could be wrong on that. But as Solomon closes out in this chapter of Ecclesiastes, it's just a reminder. Just a reminder here. For the earthly fate of the sons of men and the fate of animals is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. Indeed, they all have the same breath, and there is no preeminence or advantage for man in and of himself over an animal, for all is vanity. Because that's really all. Without God and without what he created in us, there's nothing left, but there is nothing but animal about us. That should be a reminder to us. Nernaeth says, that's why they call it a mystery. It is a divine secret that God has seen fit to disclose to man, but which we will never comprehend. Yeah, that's one of the things that I find that I respect and kind of relate to with the Orthodox is they don't shy away from throwing things up as a great mystery. Right? There's things that God does, is capable of. There's the nature of God is so beyond our understanding that all you need to do is just throw your hands up and go, I don't know. It's a mystery. I think that's something that the ortho bros forget when they're trying to knock down other people. In some cases, and if something said, I forgot how, quote, it's so over, bros, and we're so back. Figs, what's going on? Where have you been? I was just talking to one of our. We've got two. Well, I'm sorry. I should say three because I'm one. Three members of the baseball league here in the chat tonight. So anyway, so that's going to wrap up chapter 3. And what was discussed here. And I apologize. You've beed dead. Figs. Type coherently. Figs with the time to kill. Slow down, Figs. Just make it one coherent sentence. I know you can do it. That's not true. I don't know if he can do it. But I'm rooting for you. I'm not mentally there. Well, I mean, yeah. I've seen some of your transactions on baseball and commented on them. You haven't been mentally there in a while. You need to go to bed. Hey, also, hey man, calm down. All right. I know you get irritated. I know things bother you. I know that things irritate and bother you. Social media is not the place to vent that out. Okay. You're better guy than that. And that's coming from somebody who needs to do the same. All right. All right. All right. Like I said, this will wrap up what we were discussing in Ecclesiastes 3. I apologize that I was a little distracted at the beginning of this and I didn't give it's hard to break down 2 through 8 in some respect because some of this is so obvious. But like and I think, Josh putting it in the perspective of, hey, this is a list for you to keep track of and for you to understand. This is something for you to just remember as you're going through life. But sometimes this is just where you need to be. And sometimes this is just what you need to be doing. And it might suck. It might not be the best thing for you. But your job, as he kind of says, as Solomon says in verse 10, I've seen the task which God has given to the sons of men with which to occupy themselves. You do the best with the circumstance that you're in. And you use that wisdom that Solomon you take the commands and the wisdom that God imparted to us, that we read about throughout the Pentateuch. We take the wisdom that God gave Solomon, who shared that with us in Psalm and Proverbs, and we apply it, and we use it to discern where we're at, what we need to be doing. And yeah, sometimes life is great and we need to be disciplined and make sure we do stay on task and focus. And sometimes things suck and we need to be diligent and we need to suck it up. And remember, there's still expectations for us. And if we want to get out, if and maybe God wants us to get ourselves out of a situation. So if you're a place you don't want to be, try to figure out what God's telling you about how to get out of that situation. Maybe there's nothing to do. Well, or there's no way to get out of it. Well, then what you need to do is can keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. Loving God, loving others, behaving accordingly. Try to do the best to bring honor to him and witness for other people. It's a reminder. And in many ways, this chapter especially um, handcuffs nicely with Job and what we learn out of Job. When God comes down and says, who are you to know what my plan is? Were you here when I did all this? Do you understand? Do you know who I am? Do you understand what I'm doing? Why I'm doing it? How I'm doing it? You don't? All right. So, what Nernaeth said. Be where you're supposed to be, do what you're supposed to do. Don't go somewhere else you're not supposed to be, and don't do things you're not supposed to be doing. And this is something we all can take away from, because I guarantee you there's things you're supposed to be doing that you're doing. And maybe you're trying to get someplace you're not supposed to be. All right. With that said, Figs, Nernaeth, Thad the Man, Josh Brown, Serranos. I think that's the group tonight. It's been kind of quiet going through Ecclesiastes. We'll see how it comes out for the rest for tomorrow, Thursday, and going into next week. But thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for participating in the chat. Thanks for offering your thoughts. Again, this isn't about me or what I think. But while I'm here with my face in front of the camera, I'm going to tell you what I think. But I want to hear from you guys as well. And I appreciate what y'all do. And for folks who are tuning in, not commenting because you can or you don't want, you can't or you don't want to or whatever. Look, again, open invitation. Highly encourage you to be to take part in the chat. I want to hear from you, but I understand that you might not. That might not be the time for it. It's not the time. As we talked about tonight. But I am appreciative that you found the place that you enjoy coming back to. And that you're getting something out of this. I'm glad that I've provided that space for you. And for everybody keeping me on who's catching this stream on replay, thank you for watching, first of all. Sorry I missed you. I hope to catch you live sometime soon. Everybody have a good night, and God bless.